Example 14, sine of x times secant of x. If you see sine in these types of problems, you almost never want to change it. And we are going to change, I don't know why I wrote that weird. Let me start over. Sine of x times, rather than secant, let's change that to its reciprocal identity, 1 over cosine of x. If you multiply these, you get sine of x over cosine of x. That's a quotient identity. It simplifies to tangent of x. Final answer. Example 16. To solve this one, we're going to incorporate butterfly method. As long as you do it correctly, you'll be fine. So cosine times 1 plus cosine of x. Cosine of x times 1 plus cosine of x. Plus sine times sine, which is sine squared of x. Over, now multiply the denominator times the denominator. Now please do not be tempted to cross cancel these out. You're going to first have to distribute this throughout the parentheses. Now, I'm not going to worry about the denominator just yet. I'm going to simplify this numerator that I just distributed this about the parentheses. Remember what cosine squared plus sine squared is equal to? It is equal to 1. Now over the denominator. Okay, now that we've fully simplified the numerator, we can do any canceling that we need to. We can cancel these two out, leaving us with 1 over sine of x, which is the same thing as cosecant of x. Looking at example 18, sine and cosecant, those are reciprocals of one another. That would simplify, this right here simplifies just to 1 plus tangent squared of x. Now that looks like the portion of the Pythagorean identities. This one, this middle one in particular. If you were to add tangent squared of x to both sides of the equal sign, this would simplify to secant squared of x. Final answer for 18. Looking at example 20, do not substitute. Don't think that these are Pythagorean identities yet. This is cosine that is not being squared, as is this one. So nothing to do with the Pythagorean identity for now. Let's FOIL this. Cosine times cosine. Cosine times negative 1. 1 times cosine. 1 times negative 1. Now these middle terms cancel one another out, leaving us with this. Now, cosine squared of x minus 1, we would want to rearrange this Pythagorean identity to look like this. In order to achieve that, what would we have to do? We would have to subtract over 1. So subtract over 1. And we'd also have to subtract over sine. So this is equal to that. Final answer, negative sine squared of x. Example 22. I'm going to worry about this portion first. We're multiplying cotangent times sine times cosine. Cotangent, you want to substitute the quotient identity. I can't remember if I said that was cotangent or cosine. We want to take cosine, almost did it again. Cotangent, we want to change cotangent to its quotient identity, which is cosine over sine, times, leave sine alone. I guess you could put it over 1 if you wanted to. Leave cosine alone. Now, these cross cancel, leaving us with cosine times cosine, which is cosine squared of x. Now, I'm going to drop this back down. Don't forget the plus sign. And drop down the minus 1. Do you remember what sine squared plus cosine squared is equal to, or cosine squared plus sine squared? 1. And 1 minus 1 is 0.